to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Melleny. If you'd like to get to know me a little better, all my social media links are linked down below in the description bar, so be sure to check that out. If you're interested in any kind of way, I'll also have linked down below a resource to the Black Lives Matter movement where you can sign petitions, donate, and educate yourself. I will also have linked down below 2 readathons/read-alongs that you can participate in if you also wish to either support Black queer authors or to gather some more understanding and educate yourself further with the Blackout Buddy Read. But today I want to pop in and talk about all the books that I read in May. I'm so excited for this because this is probably the first wrap up I've done in a while. There are quite a few books, so I'm going to just be powering through them and just giving 1 or 2 sentences about what I thought. I will also have linked down below in the description for all of the vlogs for the month of May, so you can kind of see my more in-depth thoughts if you're interested in seeing all of that. But I think without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in. The first book that I read in May was a carryover from April, and that was The Fountains of Silence by Ruta Sepetys. I gave this book 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed the historical element. I really liked how this spanned over a couple of years, and it was kind of like a summer fling story. I thought it was really interesting. I liked the fact that it also had mixed media in it. I then buddy read Air of Fire by Sarah J. Maas with my friend Sandra, who I'll also have linked down below in the description bar if you're interested in following her bookstagram. I gave this book 5 stars. I was so worried before I started reading this because I thought I wouldn't love it as much as what I had the first time I read it, but honestly I loved it even more now. I related way more to Selena in this than I ever had before, and I just thought this was such a great reread. I also read War and Speech by Don Zolanis, I think is how you say it. I had to read this for a blog tour. I gave this 4 stars. I really liked the debate element of this, and I really liked the dramatic flair that the book had. I do have a review out for this on my blog if you're interested in checking out my thoughts on that. I then read Dark Lover by J.R. Ward. This is also a reread for me. I actually didn't end up loving this more the second time around. I thought it was still okay. I gave this 3.5 stars. I think it's a really great start to the series. We get a lot of introductions to here, but it is your typical paranormal romance. Dark Lover put me in the mood to read more paranormal romance, so I jumped at the chance to read Leopard's Run by Christine Feehan. Unfortunately, I ended up DNFing this book. The beginning was so strong. I really loved it. I thought it was really great. But towards the middle, things just started getting really repetitive. But a thing that I did like about this is that you don't have to read the other books in the series to understand what is happening here. There's a big recap that's constantly happening. That is also one of the things that did end up starting to annoy me because it was a constant like, this happened, then this, and you're like, but you told me this already. So it's such a shame that I didn't like this as much because I did like the romance. It just got a little tedious towards the middle. I then finally listened and got to Sleeping Giants by Sylvain Neuvel, and I absolutely love this. This book was absolutely incredible. I gave it 5 stars. It's one of my favorite reads of the year, and I absolutely love it. If you haven't picked it up yet, you definitely should. It's sci-fi, it's fun, it's interesting, and I love that it's so great. I can't wait to continue on with the series. I then listened to When We Were Vikings. I liked this. It was okay. I just didn't really understand where the book was going because it led you in one way and then it went another way. It was just kind of confusing in that way. It was okay though. I can't really talk too much about it because I don't know about the representation. The representation in this is fetal alcohol syndrome, which is basically when a mother drinks alcohol while she is pregnant, and that can impact the child in many ways. I know a lot of people said the representation in this was sketchy, so please be careful when going into this. I didn't know that beforehand. I probably wouldn't have picked it up if I'd known that the representation wasn't totally accurate. I then trudged my way through La Belle Sauvage by Philip Pullman, which is the first book in the Book of Dust series. This is a prequel to his Dark Material, so you read this one before. This follows Lara when she is a baby. It took me a while to get into this one. Like, honestly, it took me a hot second to get into this. I gave La Belle Sauvage 3 stars because whilst it was quite tedious, I did like the overall story. I just thought it was a bit too long. I then read Jack's Secret Summer by Jack Ryder, and I absolutely love this middle grade. I thought it was fun, it was interesting, it had great mysteries, and I gave this 4.5 stars. I highly recommend this if you are interested in picking something up for your kid or even for yourself, because it was such a great adventure. It reminded me so much of my childhood, so I highly recommend this as well. 4.5 stars, well deserved. I then picked up Amelia Fang and the Lost Yeti Treasures by Laura Ellen Anderson, and I liked this. I liked the fact that we had a discovery of a new subspecies, which I think will be quite interesting to read further on into the series because this is quite far. This is the 5th book, and I really liked it. I gave this 4 stars. I then read The Land of Never Endings by Kate Saunders, and I gave this 3.5 stars. I really liked the way this dealt with death and depression. I thought it was really heads on and didn't really beat around the bush, and I think that the ending it came to was quite fulfilling and cathartic, so I definitely recommend this for both young and old readers. I also listened to the audiobook for Truly Devious and I loved it. This is by Maureen Johnson. This is a mystery kind of setting where it's almost like a true crime podcast situation, especially when you're listening to it. I liked it. I gave it 4 stars. I did think that the romance was a little bit random that was thrown in there, but overall I think that it's going to be a really interesting series and I'm keen to continue on with it because it did end off in a really cliffhanger-like manner, and I'm excited to see how the story continues with Stevie. I then read Percy Jackson and the Sea of Monsters by Rick Riordan. I gave this 4 stars. I thought it was a really great follow-up to Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. We kind of follow Percy in the next summer after the first book, and we kind of go through the conversations about siblings and family and acceptance, and I really like that about this book. I love the series so much, even though I'm only on the 2nd book. I think it's such a great book for both young and old readers as well. The next book is another reread for me, and that is Renegades by Marissa Meyer. I absolutely love the reread for this. I gave this 5 stars. I thought it was really fun. It is a slow kind of book. People can get stuck on the chunky superhero terms, but once you get past that, it is honestly amazing, kind of like Avenger-esque kind of situation when you're thinking about Spider-Man and kind of that he's a younger generation and he has to learn from all these older heroes and everything, and I love this. I thought it was so great. I'm so excited to continue on because the book really ends in such a strong way that it makes me so excited to continue on with it. I highly recommend this if you're a fan of Marissa Meyer or even just superheroes. I then read A River of Royal Blood. However, I DNF'd this. I just wasn't a fan of the writing style in this one. There were some inconsistencies that I wasn't a fan of. It's written in a list-like manner. However, I will say that I do plan on giving this another shot. It could just be that I was coming off of a high from Renegades and everything, so I had high expectations, but I will be picking this up again at a later stage, just not right now. I then read A Throne of Swans by Elizabeth and Catherine Core. I gave this 4 stars. This was such a fun book. It is kind of cliche and tropey and all of that, but I absolutely loved it. I love the Regency element of it, and I think it's such a fun, great read. It kind of reminds me about reading for fun. It's just a fun book to read, and I absolutely enjoyed it. I then reread by listening to the audiobook Percy Jackson and the Sea of Monsters by Rick Riordan. I read this twice this month, mainly because I was really anticipating the audio and it didn't come in time for the first time that I read this. So I just had to listen to it when it came towards the end of the month so I could actually get that enjoyment out of the books, because I love the audiobooks. The narrator does such a fantastic job. I highly recommend the audiobooks if you haven't had a chance, and so I boosted my rating up to a 4.5 for this one. Those are all the books that I read for May. I'm so excited to see if June will either top this or I will fail dismally. At the moment, I will say failing dismally, but I really enjoyed the majority of the books that I read in May. It was such a good reading month for me, like all things considered. There were a couple of 5 stars, a couple of rereads, a couple of like really high rated books. There was maybe 1 or 2 DNFs in there, but honestly, in comparison, it was just such a good reading month. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Please let me know down below in the comment section if you've read any of these books or if you're planning on reading them. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you like my face, please subscribe. I hope that you continue to enjoy my videos, and I will see you in the next one.